Hello everybody, good evening, welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news. I hope you're doing well. Got lots to talk about tonight. We'll be talking about international updates in relation to Manchester United players. Uruguay's assistant manager giving a very strong hint that Cavani will be going this summer, and I think we're all starting to accept that. Paul Pogba replacement for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and also want to talk a bit about David De Gea in PSG, an ex-United striker coming back to the Premier League, and whether Manchester United might be looking at that as well. And I also want to get into a bit of a Q&A tonight as well. Not a general Q&A, but I just want to, I think we haven't done it for a couple of weeks, so I do want to get into what a lot of you want to discuss, especially around United and where we're heading into what is a big summer. It's the last international break before the summer. I think it's going to be very hectic from next weekend to the end of May, and then we've got the Euros. And are we naive and stupid to actually anticipate a good transfer window for Manchester United when you look at what I was looking at yesterday, and that is that when there is an international tournament in the summer, United's transfer activity dies a death. Like, we don't tend to do any business when the actual tournament's on. Then there's a tour where we don't tend to do any business. Then the season starts. So where is the time for us to do all this business when you consider that a lot of these players that we might want to sell, a lot of these players that we might want to buy, are going to be involved in internationals and holidays for most of the summer window. So interesting there. But let's start up with Paul Pogba. The title, I didn't do the title. The title is Solskjaer's Pogba replacement. So this is quite interesting. A few stories around Paul Pogba today. Thankfully, and again, I'll give a big thumbs up to Paul Pogba. Nothing about Paul Pogba on international duty saying that he wants to leave Manchester United. That professionalism has continued since Christmas, where he's respected the club and got down and done his thing, and that will get decided at the end of the summer. However, there are a couple of things I want to bring you. Manchester Evening News is talking about Paul Pogba, basically saying that Manchester United's transfer plans are somewhat on hold because they don't know what's going to happen with Paul Pogba. And obviously, if Paul Pogba stays, a centre defensive midfielder is still required. The only centre defensive midfielder Manchester United actually have is Nemanja Matic, who is clearly ages against him. He's losing his pace. If Pogba stays, you get a centre defensive midfielder in next to Pogba. Your midfield looks really good. And look, imagine Paul Pogba stays. We bring in a Declan Rice or a Samori or a Zakaria or whoever it is you want. You stick them in the midfield. You put Pogba next to them and Bruno ahead of them. You've suddenly got a really good midfield like we did last season when Matic was good. Obviously, if Pogba leaves, you've got no CDM and you've got to replace Paul Pogba. And that's what it was basically saying in that article, is that Manchester United don't know what's going to happen with Pogba, but if he goes, is Danny van der Beek the replacement for Paul Pogba? And that's the big question mark. And then the transfer podcast with Duncan Castles, which, look, some people think is hit and miss. Well, he's talking about interest in Neto, so you're probably going to say, oh, yeah, he's probably knows something. But on the other hand, he's saying that if Paul Pogba leaves, Manchester United will be looking to get a replacement because Donny van der Beek isn't going to be that replacement. And I think that's... I mean, look, when you look at both those stories there, I think that... I do feel that in every single way, and maybe we'll get into this a little bit more in the Q&A section in a few minutes. I do feel that we are blindly walking into a transfer window that cannot be successful. I think even if we were competent, even if we had a board like Chelsea and a transfer budget like Man City, I don't think we could do everything that needs to be done this summer. There will be elements of disappointment. But of course, if Pogba goes, that job becomes a lot harder. I mean, how do you buy a centre-back, a striker, a right winger, a CDM and a box-to-box midfielder if Pogba goes? It's just not going to happen, is it? And if you did, who would you go for? I suppose that's the most interesting thing. If Pogba goes, who do you go for? But I would jump in here and say, in my opinion, I don't think Donny van der Beek is the replacement for Paul Pogba. I don't think he... I think he could have been, and I think he could... But I don't think he is the replacement for Paul Pogba in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's eyes. Not so ever. I don't see it. I don't see it because if Donny van der Beek was the replacement for Paul Pogba, why is he not played on the left or right wing when where Pogba's played? And when Pogba's not been fit, why is he not played there? And if he's the replacement for Paul Pogba, why is he not played in the pivot with Fred or Matic very often? In fact, hardly ever. And that's where Pogba's used. So I think some people want to see Donny van der Beek as this replacement for Paul Pogba, but you don't buy a replacement and then not actually use them when that player needs replacing. Let's not forget, Pogba had COVID at the start of the season. Let's not forget, Pogba was injured for 2 or 3 months, and Donny van der Beek didn't replace Pogba. So I think it would be one of the oddest moves ever if we sold Paul Pogba and then Donny van de Beek's the replacement, I'd be like, you know what? This is back what I was talking about this morning. This is cheap. This is paper in the cracks. This is a lie. Because if Donny van de Beek was genuinely a replacement for Paul Pogba, you would have used him this season. Now, I'm sure they might sell him as the replacement next season, but I think we all know that's not the truth. That's because they don't want to buy anybody else. Because Solskjaer has not used Donny van de Beek as Pogba's replacement, and you don't do that anyway. You don't get a replacement in. Imagine you run a garage, right? And you've got a load of mechanics working for you who fix cars, right? You know one of your best mechanics is leaving. He's off to Ferrari. You just run a Joe's Garage or whatever like that. So old Mac, he's off to bloody Ferrari next year. So you get somebody in who's going to replace Mac. For a year, you don't even let them have a go or work with Mac. You don't say, right, this car's going to get fixed. Mac, tell him what to do. Right, the next car, Mac, you stand back. You have a coffee with me. He's going to go and do it. Let's see how he gets on. You don't bring that person in for a year while Mac and just carry on letting Mac work. And then when Mac has a holiday, don't let this replacement work. And then when Mac leaves, go on then, crack on without having used them for a year. And this is what baffles me as to why people think that Donny van de Beek is a replacement for Paul Pogba when we've done absolutely nothing in the year that we've had him to, see if he could be in a more comfortable environment. So I don't think Donny van de Beek is the replacement for Paul Pogba. I think Donny van de Beek is a stupid signing that we seem to think is a replacement or backup for Bruno and Bruno only. Like, we just don't use him. So if Pogba goes, I think we've got an issue. Mark, you are like the Joker from Batman. You are against him but can't live without him after you put that little title about Arsenal. Well, the joke will be on you when Bruce Wayne Arteta beats Ollie the Joker in the final, says Amy Massey. Welcome to the Members Club, Div Yak Kumar. I mean, there is a video. I will drop the link in if you've not seen the video about Arsenal. I think it's a really good video because it's quite similar to the situation we've got at United, but Arsenal fans are very upset about it. But I actually think it's quite good and actually says what the situation is. Who is Donny van de Beek actually replacing? Probably nobody, says Alpha Game. Well, let's not forget, Donny van de Beek may well leave Manchester United this summer as well. But yeah, I think it is interesting that both Manchester Evening News and this transfer podcast lean towards United looking to make a replacement signing for Paul Pogba. And we don't think about it. We don't think about this, do we? We don't discuss this. We talk about centre-backs and CDMs and hopefully Pogba stays. But if Pogba goes, they do need to buy a replacement. Who would that be? I mean, people talk about Gravenbach at Ajax. To me, he looks an identikit sort of Paul Pogba as a teenager. But he's a Mino Raiola client. So, out of the saucepan and into the fire with that. Who would United go for? Who's a box-to-box player? I mean, I like Kessie. I do like Kessie at AC Milan. I think he'll go to Chelsea. There are plenty of players out there that I quite like. But Aouar at Lyon, yeah, I do like him as well. But I don't know. I just think... I think that was the point of the article in the Manchester Evening News, to be fair, as well. It's like Manchester United's plans are on hold because of Paul Pogba's plans himself. But Manchester United should be planning for him to go because, as we know, he wants to go. At this moment in time, he wants to go. That's all we know. So will that change in the summer? Let's hope it does. But if he does go, then we do need a replacement. And I'm not so sure that Donny van de Beek is that. So they might sell it as that, but no, I don't know. Hi, Mark. I may have missed out. However, I'm still seeing the bid for Llorente around. Just wondering if it has been debunked. All the best, says Akil. From what we understand, that this source about Llorente and an 80 million bid is a load of bollocks. But we will see. Awesome, Mark. Love from India. You spit facts, says Pulkit. Well, I don't know about that, Pulkit, but thank you very much. Alpha Gaming, thanks for the super chat as well. And Caleb, welcome to the Members Club. I appreciate that. I want to get into your questions tonight. I really do, but there's quite a few important things to talk about. So this is really interesting because I think Manchester United's summer really has been messed up. They probably would have messed it up themselves. We do. This isn't... The thing about this is not... I'm sure Manchester United get annoyed by the negativity, but the reality is you feed us the negativity. I'm sorry, I don't think any United fan wants to be sceptical and negative about our transfer plans and what we're going to do in the summer. But we've been fed this over the years. This goes back 12 years for me. I've seen there's no value in the market when we need midfielders. This is not new. This is not negative. This is just a reality that the Glazers are absolutely useless when it comes to seeing a good transfer window. And of course there has been good transfer windows. I really liked the summer where we got Pogba and obviously Zlatan, and I think we got Eric Bailly in Mkhitaryan. That was a really good summer. And there was another summer with Van Hal where it was relentless, where we got Schneiderlin and Schweinsteiger. But the Glazers have been here 15 years. I think we've had 3 or 4 good summer transfer windows. United should be having 10 or 11 really out of 15 years. Anyway, my point is, I think going into this summer, you would have been looking at a centre-back, a centre-defence midfielder and a right winger. They would have been the 3 signings you wanted this summer. And they were the signings that Manchester United did want. But of course, Pogba wanting to go has caused an issue, and Cavani wanting to go has caused an issue. And that will probably impact on the centre-back, CDM and right winger. And we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But interestingly, and I don't know whether some of you saw this, the Uruguay assistant coach has come out. Obviously, I think Cavani is on international duty as far as I remember, talking about Cavani and saying that they'd be very happy for him to play for Boca Juniors, which is obviously an Argentinian club, because he'd be playing in a settled environment where he's happy and closer to home, because obviously Argentina is closer to Uruguay, geography. But this is interesting. This is really interesting, because that was sort of the last thing I was clinging on to, that Cavani might stay, because one of the things that was being said a couple of months ago is that Cavani will want to stay playing in Europe to give him the best chance of being part of the World Cup Uruguay squad, which is next year. It's Christmas next year, isn't it? But then you've got the assistant manager of Uruguay saying they'd like to see him playing for Boca Juniors. It's competitive, it's closer to home, the player will be happy. So that puts a big cross next to it's advantageous for Cavani to be playing in Europe if he wants to play for Uruguay. So I think that's probably the final domino being knocked down for me. I mean, I might be wrong. United might chuck a load of money at him. I don't, they may desperately do that. We do desperate things, as we know, when it comes to signings. But I think when you put together all the noise around Cavani, you put together the fact that Cavani apparently isn't very happy, and then you've got his assistant coach for the national side saying they'd like to see him at Boca Juniors, closer to home, happier. I think everything points to the fact that Cavani is going to go. And it'll be very interesting as to know why Cavani wants to go. I mean, is it just because he got that ban for that tweet just before Christmas or Instagram post, which, you know what, would piss you off when you've said it in your own language and it's not offensive there, and you get into trouble in the country that you're in. Is it because of who doesn't feel happy at Manchester United? Is it? I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I think that Cavani looks like he's going to go, and that means Manchester United are going to need to buy a striker. You can't go into next season with. It's not that you can't go into next season with Martial and Greenwood. It's the fact that you can't go into next season with 3 positions, a left winger, a right winger and a striker, and you've basically got Martial, Greenwood, Rashford, Diallo, Dan James. That's not enough. So we're going to have to delve into the transfer market. But it's not Ibong says that the style of play may not suit him. That might be something in that as well. But it doesn't look good for Cavani. And many of you may not have seen that. Just looking at the live comments, you haven't. You have to keep your ear to the ground, which is why we do the United Stand, really, because there is lots of things going on around the international break, as I predicted a couple of weeks ago. And these players go back to their countries where they tend to be very happy. They talk around and then people start whispering. Sometimes it's even them themselves. Ollie out, players tend not to buy some of his tactics, says Josh Bruno. And I mean, look, can I just say about that? If you are a striker in the Manchester United side, I don't know why I'm doing that. If you're a striker in the Manchester United side, whether you're Anthony Martial, Mason Greenwood, Edison Cavani, I wonder how long it will take for the mainstream media to click onto what we've been talking about on here for months. That, they have finally started talking about the centre-backs. I think next they'll realise that McFred are crap. And then eventually they'll start talking about the number 9 shirt being a graveyard shift. I mean, I saw another 2 ex-Manchester United players this weekend talking about getting a striker in. We had Andy Cole on with the start of the week. He said, I think we need a striker. There's so many people saying that Manchester United need a striker, and I'm like, I disagree. I mean, these are United greats who are saying this. I've got no problem with their opinion. I mean, that's what it's all about. But this is what I've said many a time, I don't, just because you've played for Manchester United, just because you're an ex-player of, England or Man United or Arsenal or whatever, I really don't think your opinion is any better than a fan that watches the team every week, because I do want a striker. I don't think they're wrong, but I just think buying... I mean, look, let's pretend we did get Erling Haaland or Harry Kane this summer and that was it. 150 million quid spent. That was the summer. We've made the most marquee, expensive signing of the summer. I would be really disappointed and scared. I'd still be saying Solskjaer's gone by Christmas, because one striker can't do it on their own. And I think that, in my opinion, and I don't know what you think, but I think in my opinion, the number 9 position for Manchester United is the one I have the most sympathy with in that team. I'm sympathetic to Cavani, to Martial, to Greenwood, to Rashford when they've played there. I think it's the most thankless task there is in that team. I mean, sometimes I think it's hard on Bruno and the wingers because they get deprived of the ball by the midfield and the defence. But as the number 9, you're even further away. Like, if Bruno and Rashford and the winger don't get a lot of the ball from the midfield pivot because they can't get it to them, then the striker's the next one after that. If Bruno's not getting a lot of the ball and then Bruno does get the ball, he's not going to find the striker every time, is he? So the striker is the most deprived of oxygen position in that United side. And yet some people think if we buy a number 9, everything's going to be all right. It's like Bob Marley. Everything is going to be all right. It's not going to be all right. It's not going to be all right. Because that number 9 can't get... What do you want the number 9 to do for 150 million? Run back to the centre-backs and dribble it all the way up? I mean, it's just not going to happen. A top-quality striker thrives on service, and we haven't got the service. So a striker, for me, I don't understand why a lot of pundits are saying, yeah, I think United need to go out and get a striker. And I don't want to be I don't want to insult people, because that's not what I aim to do. I just have an opinion. I actually think these people that say United need to go out and get a top-class striker as a priority, I would question how deep they watch football. Are they really watching the games like we do? And I say we in relation to our community. I don't mean every United fan watches it. Some United fans may not watch every game. Maybe they're half watching it. Maybe they're on their phone. I don't know. But I suppose you could look at United and go, oh, they lost to Leicester. If they had a good striker, they would have won 4-3. And I think that's a really good example. If you look at all these games we win by 1 goal, or you look at the game we lost to Leicester, or you look at the game we lost to Sheffield United in January, I suppose somebody who's not thinking it deep or watching the game deep might look at it and go, you know what, if they had a top striker like Haaland, they'd have won that game 4-3 against Leicester. They'd have beat Sheffield United 4-2. But we know that's not the truth, because where are these chances that Cavani or Martial missed in those games? We're not losing games because we haven't got a number 9. We're losing games because we haven't got a midfield, and that's the thing for me. What would you rate the positions needed in order? If Pogba stays, it would be a pivot, a centre back, a winger, and a backup right back. Last being a striker, says Aki. I think that's a great question. And we'll definitely come back to that. In what order do you think the priorities are for United? We'll come back to that in a minute. Cannot rely on Martial. His best season was 24 goals, which is an average season for a striker like Vardy. Can't have a mediocre striker at our club. Ronald, you see, I'd put you in the category of these ex-players that are saying we need a striker. I could, we could do this. We could sit there. Both of us could go and do our research and look at highlights of every Man United game this season. And I guarantee I will come back and win and say, tell me these big chances that Martial or Cavani have missed this season that Haaland or Harry Kane are going to score. And what difference are they going to make? We don't create chances. So a new striker isn't a chance creator. If we were missing 5 good chances a game, I'd be on the page. I'd be on the same page. We need a striker. Look at all the chances we're missing. We need a striker. I'm on that page. It's not that I don't want to be on that page. I just don't need to be on that page because it's not relevant. It's not the story that is being written for United. We don't create loads of chances that are being missed. We don't create a load of chances. That's the problem. But yeah, Martial did miss versus PSG at home, Aya. That's 1 chance from December. How many games have we played since then? That 1 chance. Is that worth spending £150 million on? Is that going to really make us a better side? We would be in the Champions League knockout stage, but you can't. Salah misses 2 or 3 good chances a game and still scores 2 or 3. That's what's important. So tiresome. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is shouting his head off every match to Rashford and Tony about them getting into the box. Yet they don't. We do need a striker, says Bjorn. But Bjorn, I watch the games. How many good crosses are going into the box? How many chances are being created? It's all right shouting at your striker to get into the box. Where's the ball going into the box? I don't see. Why is Rashford getting in the box? Rashford's meant to be the bloody creator. So I don't know what you're talking about, get in the box. We don't get the ball into the box. Maybe they're... I see Cavani and I see Greenwood and I see Martial playing at number 9 and I see them coming into the centre circle to get the ball because they know that standing up front they're not going to get it. So Alex says that Martial's missed loads of chances. Well, I'll tell you what, Alex, you list them all down and we'll go through it because I guarantee you will not find that many. And my point is, this is not about your dislike for Anthony Martial, which is why I keep bringing in Cavani or Greenwood. You've obviously got an issue with Martial. I tell you what, you crack on with it. You go and throw darts at pictures at him if it makes you feel better. I'm not talking about Anthony Martial because this season, when he's been fit, our number 9 is Cavani. And I think we all know that. Tell me how frustrating it's been for Cavani. Tell me how many times Cavani's been given a 5 or 6 out of 10 in the player ratings. Nothing to do with himself. Just may as well have a pipe and slippers on because he's getting no service. So stop wandering towards your dislike for Anthony Martial. He's not been the number 9 this season. Cavani has. And tell me how many sitters Cavani's missed this season and how many good chances Cavani's had. And Mason Greenwood in the last couple of games where he's played as a number 9. How many good chances has Greenwood had this season? Hardly any. So this is the point I'm making. If you think our number 1 priority this transfer window is a striker, then I'm going to tell you, well done, that's your opinion, but I totally disagree with it because it is not the priority for me because we don't create chances for a number 9 to put away anyway. Let's move on because we can come back to that. I just want to talk about David De Gea. Oh, very, very quickly. I don't know whether anyone's seen the leaked kit. The leaked kit is sort of a cross between the sort of shit you'd buy for your pub team and a classic United kit from the 80s. So the badge appears to be in the middle. There's 3 stripes on the shoulder. The new sponsor looks absolutely crap, but you know they're paying us good money. My only issue with it is I hated the zebra kit when it came out, but I actually quite like it now. And what you've got to realise is with kits, they are very much like your in-laws. You might not like them at the start, but at the end of the day, you get to see them so much that eventually you think they're okay. So I would say that this kit to me doesn't look anything special, but you never know. It might grow into something we really like. And the only thing I don't like is it looks a bit off-red. And I don't know whether that's just the fact that it's a leaked kit. It doesn't look very red. It looks a little bit like, you know, when you've got a really red top, you wash it a few times and it starts to fade. It looks like an off red to me, which I don't like. I want a pure blood red for Manchester United. United literally had the deal for Sancho done last summer. We only have one winger in Dan James and Diallo, who will take a couple of years to develop, says Dylan Taylor. And Nicky Cadigan, welcome to the members club. Cavani's movement in the box and track back is great. Unlike Martial, doesn't run at all. Getting Rafinha, Rice and Varane is the way, not Haaland, says Ronald. Look, there is a very, very big difference between Anthony Martial and Marcus Rashford as a number 9 and Cavani as a number 9. I think Cavani is he's that sort of traditional box striker. Unfortunately, I feel sorry for Cavani this year, and it might be why he wants to go. I mean, if you think about it, Cavani at PSG, you're probably getting, how many chances a game do you think you get as a player for PSG? You're getting quite a few, I would imagine. You come to Man United and you're running around and you're getting no service. I mean, that might be a factor. Great content and interesting analysis from yourself and the community regarding our beloved club. I'm just puzzled that we see the management don't see what we see. So frustrating. Maybe they know something we don't know, says Darren Giles. But maybe they love the club. You know, I mean, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Michael Carrick, Mike Phelan, McKenna and Fletcher. I mean, you could replace them with 4 of you. The thing you have in common is you love the club. And, you know, would you rather do the job with 2 arms tied behind your back, the impossible job, or would you rather walk away from the thing that you love? I don't think people put enough focus on that. I mean, criticism and critique is always valid. You know, if you're the Prime Minister or you're the Manchester United manager, if you don't expect criticism, then you should never get, if you can't take the heat, get off the potty. And I'm not, that's what it's like. You're going to get criticised. But if you've got that innate desire and passion that, look, I'd rather do this impossible job and try than walk away from something that I love, I respect that about Solskjaer. I respect that about his coaches. You know, maybe they're not good enough. Maybe their job is impossible because of what's going on above them. But I don't think they're going to quit. Mark Haaland is an extra 10 points. If we had him this season, that's 1 point off. Oh, what a load of bollocks. What a load of bollocks, Ben. I'm sorry, Ben. Actually, you know what? I am really sorry because that's the super chat. I'm really sorry, Ben. I'm not. I don't know how to put this. I mean, look, Ben says Mark Haaland is an extra 10 points if we had him this season. That's 1 point off City. We miss way too many chances. Look, Ben, I respect the opinion. I have to say that because it is your opinion. But I think it's bollocks. I really do. And look, make your mind up. If you agree with Ben, go with Ben. If you agree with me, go with me. If you're somewhere in between, you think it's 5 points different, that's fine. That's the whole point of what we do. But no. Not in my opinion, Ben. I think that I can't see where we'd make 10 points this season. I can't. I think we've made 10 points quite luckily. We've got 3 points against Southampton because of our number 9. So Haaland can only replicate what Cavani did, which is win us the game. There's so many games we've won by 1 goal this season that I don't think we could eke another 10 points out. People will say, well, we could have done it against Sheffield United. We didn't create many chances against them. And for every game where we could have took another 3 points, we could have lost 3 points against Southampton. We could have lost 3 points against Villa. We could have lost 3 points against Fulham. There was a lot of things going on in those games. So I personally think, where I would agree with you, Ben, even though it's totally different, I think if we'd had, say, Upamecano in the summer instead of playing Lindelof and Maguire, I think we'd have another 5 points because I don't think we would have conceded against Leicester. Was it Boxing Day when we were 2-1 up in the last few minutes? I don't think we were good at Everton. Everton was down to the defence. So I personally think we've dropped points this season because of our defence and our midfield. So I don't think our strikers or our attack have done anything wrong. In fact, have we not scored more goals than anybody this season, or we had done? So I don't think scoring more goals is the issue. I think we've conceded too many stupid goals, not marking people up in the box, etc. Christensen and Rudiger are not much better than Maguire and Lindelof, yet Chelsea's defence is so good. This is because their midfield control the game, says Raj. Yeah, I agree with you on that. To only have Bruno as our playmaker... sorry, let me get that one back. To only have Bruno as our playmaker is crazy. De Bruyne is not creating everything himself. Has players like Silva alongside him and Gundogan. You can't deny that. People like to talk about hypotheses. Do you think Ollie would win the league with the current City team? I don't, says Sharath Kamath Fitness. And personally, I think we should sort out defence and midfield this summer, says Demon. Yeah, well, I agree. I agree with you on that one. Do I think Ollie would win the title with Manchester City? You know what? I can't answer that question, but I will answer that question. I think, it's very easy to say Solskjaer wouldn't win the title with Manchester City. I think he would. I actually think he would. I think he would. Yeah, because I don't think you can fail as a Manchester City manager. And look, Pep's a great manager, and he's done a great thing, but Man City have won the title with Mancini. They've won the title with Pellegrini. I don't think they are amazing managers. I think they're good managers, but I don't think they're amazing managers. I don't think you can fail at Man City. Now, of course, if you've got the money that Man City have got, and then you bring in one of the best managers in the world, you're going to be successful to a ridiculous level, and that's what's happened. But I think Brendan Rodgers would win the title with Man City. I think that Ancelotti would win the title with Man City. And look, Ancelotti's not the force he once was. I think Arteta would win the title with Man City. And I think that was maybe the plan. I don't think many managers would fail with Manchester City because it's everything's in your favour. So maybe I'm in the minority there because people are mad with Solskjaer, but I think he would win the title with Man City because I think it's probably the easiest job in the Premier League. And that's not taking any... I'm not saying Pep's job's easy. I'm not saying that. I think Pep could probably... for me, Pep Guardiola is arguably the best manager in the world. So I'm not saying anyone can do his job to the level he does. His... how deep he goes into tactics and stuff is just on another level. But I do think that job is the easiest in football with PSG. So I think that... I've always said I don't think Solskjaer's useless, so I think he could win the title with them, yeah. Mark, Ben is obviously drunk as it's Saturday evening. This is exactly the type of people the club loves, says Andy and Bruno. Well, no, I don't think Ben's... No, I don't. In fairness to Ben, I don't think... I respect Ben, I respect his opinion, and I don't think he's somebody that the club love, because I think Ben... I think the club probably like me more than they like Ben, because I'm just saying get a centre back and a CDM for under 100 million. Ben's saying go and get the striker for 150, so I'm saving him more money. So the Glazers probably like me more, to be fair. Pep isn't even using a striker, says Carlos. Yeah, I mean the genius of Pep in relation to his false nine and how deep he goes. Marvin says it's not that easy. What did Lampard do? Well, I think Lampard failed in a very different way, Marvin. I think Lampard looked a very good coach last year when he didn't have the money and he had to get on with the youth and just crack on with it, and Hazard had left and the transfer ban. I think Lampard sunk because he brought too many players in and he upset the ship of last season, and it just overwhelmed him. I don't think that would be the same as giving Ollie that Man City squad. That Man City squad, with me in charge, I still think I could... I don't think I'd win the league, but I still think I could do quite well with it because it's so good. I think I'd get top 4. And I know that sounds ridiculous and people will say, oh my God, he's so arrogant. But I mean, on a serious note, if you've got any level of football knowledge and any level of management skills, and I'm not talking football management, because you can get your coaches to train them. And look, I would shit myself if I was in charge of Man City. And I'd probably make them lose on purpose. In fact, I'd be a great manager for Man City. But I pretty much think on a Friday night I could pick a team. And I pretty much think when the game's going on I could make some subs. Because look at what's on the bench. We watch games together anyway. So if I'm watching Man City from the side and I'm thinking Sterling's having a shit game, off you come. On you go, Riyad Mahrez. Coaches, have a word with him. Tell him what to do. I think... in a management sense, that job isn't that difficult. We've opened a can of worms, I think. But I don't. I genuinely don't. I agree in feeling we don't need a striker, but understand where the guys are coming from. Way too many times Rashi, Don, Tony have missed point blank, says Marveloso. Yeah, but remember, Rashford's a winger. Can United stand fans please stop this Haaland signing? It's never happening. Let's get Sancho, use Mason as a 9 and stop this McFred crap, says Tariq. Vote Van der Beek as United's player of the season just to prove the point to Ollie and co, says David Page. Yeah, imagine if we did that. They'd make sure it didn't happen anyway. Rashford and Greenwood have the vision to play balls in for the movement of Cavani, but the coaching is so crap that we can't do that, says Oliver H. I don't think Rashford does, and I don't think Greenwood does. I don't think they're that sort of winger, really. I don't think it's naturally their thing, to be honest with you. Anyway, I want to get into your questions. It's already started. 20 big chances missed between Rashford and Tony. Frank, bollocks. Absolute bollocks. Absolute bollocks. I don't. What? Just because you say so, Frank? I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you. I don't agree that we've missed 20 big chances this season. And also, even if that was right, I bet if you compared it to every other I mean, nobody scores every chance as well. What I'm telling you, anyway, regardless, we're getting swamped down with the same conversation here, and we're going to solve it in a moment, based on what your preference would be for each position. But let me just tell you this: David De Gea, PSG. There is talk of David De Gea in PSG, but PSG are apparently looking at a cheaper option because they would like Lloris or David De Gea, but they're both going to cost a lot of money. So I think, I mean, God, I'm almost bringing my mood down even more here. So we want a centre-back, a centre-defensive midfielder and a right winger, but we might need to replace Pogba and probably got to replace Cavani as well. And on top of all that, we've got all the shit we need to clear out. And on top of all that, we've got a goalkeeping situation where we've got to sell one of our great goalkeepers. Pick the pips out of that, Ollie. You've got a very busy summer. Mark, there is no way the Glazers would like you, mate. You may only want centre-back and CDM, but you'd want first and second choices and not players we don't need, says Andy and Bruno. And hi, Mark. If England and Portugal play against each other in a World Cup Euro match and there is a crunching tackle from Shaw and Bruno, how would you feel, says Praveen. Mate, with Luke Shaw, I'd have to have a think. If Harry Maguire did it, I'd want him sold. Ollie would play Fernando. I mean, to be honest with you, that's nothing against Harry Maguire. What I'm saying is, if any player injured Bruno, I'd be furious with them. But obviously, I'm a big Luke Shaw fan, so I'd have to look at it, and maybe he slipped. I don't know. Ollie would play Fernandinho and Rodri, then sit back and counter, says Tyrone. Yeah, but the trouble is, the difference is Fernandinho and Rodri can actually play a forward pass. Our players can't. Can they? But interestingly, I just wanted to bring you this. This is coming from Germany, from Bild, that Chelsea want Haaland, but if they don't get Haaland, they're going to go for Lukaku. I mean, God, that one's going to come back and bite us. I think Lukaku will fancy another shot at the Premier League. And imagine Lukaku at Chelsea. That would be interesting, isn't it? Very interesting indeed. So we'll see what happens there. Anyway, I want to get people's opinion here. Let's start firing into the questions. I want to get people's opinion here. So, it's Akil's question from before. What would your priority be in positions this summer? So, if it's striker, you put striker, CDM, centre-back, right winger, right back. Put as many as you want. Try and be realistic, but what order would you have it? Pogba should do what Ronaldo did, sign a new 2-year contract, play next year so we can get what we need and then sell at the end of the season with 1 year left on his contract, says Edward. Yeah, but you know what? To be fair to Pogba, he's 28 now. I mean, you know, time isn't of the essence. Time is of the essence for him. So a lot of people are saying centre defensive midfielder and a centre back. That's Caleb. Jem says a right winger and a CDM. Brandon says centre defensive midfielder, centre back, right winger, striker. Boris Big Bollocks says centre back. CDM centre back says Rohan. Sadid says CDM centre back, right winger. Khalid says CDM centre back, right winger, right back, striker. A lot of people just saying CDM. I mean, this is where Manchester United should be looking at what their fans think, because most of you watch the games a lot. CDM centre back, right winger, striker says David. And new coaching, Shrinj Fashion's gone with something a little bit different. He says new coaching staff, centre-back, CDM, striker. Roy Keane Hurley says CDM, centre-back, striker. Keep Pogba, says Mr. AJ, good one there. Manager, CDM, centre-back, says Delaney. And Mark, what do you make of Andre Silva? I sent you a DM of his stats. I think Andre Silva is worth a look at, but I like Isaac as well at Sociedad. CDM definitely, says Claude. Everything, says Ashen. And CDM centre-back and box-to-box, says Patrick. CDM only, says Paul. CEO, says Matthew. Roy Keane as assistant, says Aya. Anad says new manager and a CDM. Striker, CDM and winger. And a new defender, says Niall Kane. Interesting that a few of you have gone with striker, but in the vast majority, I think are going CDM centre back and then right winger before a striker. Although, let me just say that Inia said CDM striker, right midfielder, centre back. I get a bit of a cold, you know. I haven't had a cold in like over a year. I don't know where I picked this up from. New owners, says Alex C. So for me, without any doubt, my priorities, and I think you already know this, which is why I was going through so many of yours, CDM, centre-back, right winger, striker. That's my priority this summer, in that order. So spending 150 million on a striker pisses me off because it's the fourth priority as far as I'm concerned. And, you know, it's a little bit like if you're on a sinking dinghy and one of the people in the dinghy wants a cup of tea and I've got something to make a cup of tea, you know, I've got hot water in a flask and I've got some milk and I've got a tea bag, and the dinghy is slowly sinking, and about 10 metres out I can see this big shark circling us, but the cup of tea is a striker and the 3 leaks in the boat are a small leak, a right winger, a bigger leak, a centre-back, and a massive leak, a CDM. I'm sorry, I ain't making a fucking cup of tea. I'm going to fix the big leak before we sink. So that's sort of how I feel about the striker situation. It'd be lovely to have a nice warm cup of tea, but let's fix the bloody leaks first, or we're going to get eaten by that big bloody shark. And that's how I feel about that. You know, I totally agree that it would be lovely to have a lovely cup of tea, and it would be lovely to have a world-class striker. But the priorities for me are fixing the league, and you don't sit and have a cup of tea. You know, that cup of tea could be great. That could be a hat-trick for Haaland on his debut, but we're still going to bloody sink because we've still got holes in the boat. So I want a CDM, a centre-back, a right winger and a striker. And that's the order I want them in. Priorities would be in this order: striker, Ronaldo, Pogba swap, CDM, Rice for 50 million, and centre-back Koundé for 50 million, says Charlie K. Mark, why not add Sancho, who brings goals and assists, instead of a striker this summer? That would improve Martial and Greenwood's service in games, says Karen. Hi Mark, did you see Donny for the Netherlands not getting any playing time there either? What do you think of his future, says Sadiq. Yeah, he played 11 minutes, Van der Beek, tonight. I've already spoken about this week, so I don't want to go into it too deep. But Van der Beek is now paying the price of playing for Manchester United. I mean, funnily enough, this happened with Fred. When we bought Fred, he was a Brazilian international. You know, he's definitely Brazilian. I know a lot of people say, let's check his passport, but he played for Brazil. I think he went to the World Cup. So, you know, Fred can't get, you know, the closest thing Fred's can get to Brazil now is... No. So, yeah, I think Donny van der Beek is paying the price of playing for Manchester United because this happens. You don't get into international squads on reputation when other people are playing, and he can't get in. So, you know, what's he supposed to do? He can't play for Holland when he's not playing for Manchester United. Jack Lynch says new owners, new coaching staff, centre-back, CDM and a right winger, and then Haaland, but only when his 78 million release clause comes in. There you go. So, yeah, it's sad about Donny van der Beek, but it's not surprising because he isn't playing for Man United. So how's he going to... I said it this week, he might not go to the Euros. I mean, I don't know Donny van der Beek, but I feel terribly sorry for him. I really do. I mean, this would have been a dream move for him last summer, and it's just a joke. Andy Cole missed 2 chances per game but scored a couple of goals because Giggs and Beckham created at least 5 chances each game. Man United do not have the service, says Chris. Yes. I mean, and also I think that buying a very expensive clinical striker will only mask the problems. I mean, nobody's ever thought of it like this. It's quite interesting to put it like this. You buy a striker that is very, very clinical, and he starts putting these so-called chances that we miss, which aren't many, away. It won't change the way we're playing football. And is that not another reason to bring a CDM and a centre-back and a right winger in before a striker? Because so many of you moan about the way we play, but then you're saying, I want a striker. Well, a striker's not going to change the way we're playing. We're still going to play a back six. We're still not going to move the ball quickly forward, and we're still not going to create chances. All right, your star striker might score 1 or 2 more goals because he gets, you know, he takes the chance, but we won't play better football. So actually, you know, a centre-back, a CDM and a right winger makes us play better football as well. How much of it is going to cost United to pay off Ollie and coaching staff and that new restructure, as new manager would bring in his own people, says Andy and Bruno. Well, this is always a big reason, Andy, why the board never wants to sack anybody anyway, and United don't really act quickly. I've said this before. I think Moyes should have been sacked the day we got him, but they didn't sack him until top 4 was gone. Van Gaal should have gone at Christmas, and they waited till the summer. And I think Mourinho should have gone 2 months before he did, and they waited till Christmas. So United are not quick at sacking managers. And I'm not, you know me, I don't want Solskjaer to get sacked. I don't think he should be sacked. But we're nowhere near that point anyway, because United are very slow because they don't want to spend the money. They don't want to have to pay a manager off. You've then got to buy a new manager who wants new players. So they don't want to do that. I know for a fact that the club want to stick this out with Solskjaer for as long as possible because it's stability, it's a shield from the fans, and it doesn't cost them as much money as it would do to bring somebody else in. Solskjaer's wages are relatively cheap as well compared to somebody like a Mourinho or a Van Gaal. He's not on great wages compared to them. Josh Yu says, Mark, how can you admit we don't create enough chances but still defend Ollie? His football isn't good enough, mate. Well, I don't defend the football, Josh Yu. I don't predict that. Luke, if you don't tell me what the contradiction is, I can't answer your question. So, the football's not good. I don't know what people have a problem with me and other United fans who aren't screaming Ollie out, because most of us are not saying that the football's good. I think what we're saying is give him till May. Let's see what happens in the summer. But I think he's gone in by Christmas anyway. That's where I am. But I wouldn't sack him now. I wouldn't sack a manager in second place. I think football's gone if you do that. I'm sorry. I know we've seen that happen with certain clubs, but I think football's over. I think Manchester United is dead if it starts sacking a manager who's second in the league. I think things have to go wrong. But having said that, the football's not good enough. Of course it's not. I don't like the football. And I think this brand of football will lead to his sacking. But I live in hope that we will bring the players in that we need to bring in and play a better brand of football next season, because he'll definitely be the manager at the start of next season. And I think that's right, as things stand now. I think we made the same mistake when we bought Di Maria. I was so happy when we signed Donny, but sometimes these situations don't work out, says Jack Lynch. And the scary thing is, if you offered Ollie, Haaland and Mings, or Sancho, Rice and Koundé, he'd probably go for Haaland. I think he's obsessed with getting him. He is obsessed with getting him, Joshua. He's absolutely obsessed with getting Haaland. And he would take that situation, I think. Mark, why do you think there's such a difference to what we think we need and what the board and mainstream media think we need? Feels like we're fighting a losing battle, constantly wanting what we can get. Well, the advent of fan media has changed the dynamic of football. And I think the mainstream media, ex-players, pundits, struggle with that, because there's an arrogance that's not their fault, that's just resides in them, because for years it was always match of the day telling you what to think in between highlights. Nowadays you've all got a voice, you're all analysing the games, and you're able to see the issues, and what the point is that their opinion's no better than yours, and you get ex-players coming out with, I'd go all out and buy Fofana. Well, that's great. That's a really good player for United to buy, but it's absolutely ridiculous. And why is it going public? Because it serves no purpose. We cannot sign Fofana. He's only been at Leicester 6 months. They're a rich club, and they would want 100 million for him. So it's an irrelevant point. Whereas one of you might say, I'd get Badiashile because he's good, he's under 30 million, and Monaco will sell. So my point really is there that an opinion's only as good as what you think it is. It doesn't matter whose mouth it comes from. I feel Haaland's presence would elevate the team just like Bruno's did, says Martin Liu. I don't think that would happen at all, because a striker is not a miracle worker. Bruno Fernandes is a number 10. Bruno Fernandes is the creator of that side. A striker, no matter who they are, it could be Superman, they're only as good as the service they get. It's very hard for a striker to elevate a side because they need the service. I mean, for me, you can't say bringing a world-class striker in is going to change this team. What does a world-class striker do to make McFred actually pick their runners up and play the ball forward effectively? What does a world-class striker do to make our defence not sit back with a deep line? You know what I mean? Like, we know the problems with this team. A striker doesn't solve them. A striker just finishes what scraps he gets. We need to build a team. The dinghy is the best one. The dinghy is the best one. Would you trade Ollie for Brendan Rodgers, says Joe Shoe? No, not at the moment. No, I wouldn't. Not at the moment. So, yeah. I'll check that funny clip out for at King United. I'll check that out for you in a bit. But, yeah, no, I think that... I think that... It's hard. It's hard to say, but I think that nothing's going to change at Manchester United. If I'm absolutely honest, nothing's going to change. I don't think Solskjaer expects it to change, and I don't think the board expects it to change. I think they know that the situation with the fans, some people have made their mind up, some people haven't. Some people will back the club, some people are angry with the club. And I don't think anything's going to drastically change until we get a definitive answer one way or the other. And I think the answer that you're looking at one way or another is going to be, do we suddenly start playing better football and do we get the signings that we need? Or do we limp along and continue down this road that we've been continuing down for the last couple of years, where it ultimately ends up where we know where it's going to end up, with a new manager? So, yeah, I think that's, I can't offer anything in relation to that. As I said this morning, my feeling is that my feeling is that if you asked me, well, I know, don't ask me. I'm going to ask you. Let's have a look in the live comments. I'm going to ask you, what's going to happen at Manchester United? Well, what will have happened by Christmas? let me know what's happening at Christmas. And do it honestly. Don't do what you want to happen. Do what you think's going to happen. Because some people are glass half empty. They'll be like, I'd love Solskjaer to get sacked, but I actually think by Christmas we'll be third in the league. We'll still be playing shit football, grinding things out, and he'll still be in charge. That might be what an Ollie Outer actually thinks is going to happen. For me, I've said it before, so I'll just quickly say it while people are typing. I think we're going to get top 4. And I think, depending on what happens in the transfer window, if we have a bad transfer window, we will be playing the same football next season and he'll be sacked by Christmas because fans sack managers. The board reckon that doesn't happen, but they do. Mourinho got sacked because the fans turned on him. Van Gaal got sacked because the fans turned on him. Moyes got sacked because the fans turned on him. Their position became untenable. And the media turned on them as well. The media are a big, big thing. I think if we're playing this brand of football with these sort of players next season, he's gone by Christmas. However, he will be the manager at the start of next season. I'm 100% sure of that. I think he'll be gone by Christmas unless we have a really good summer transfer window. If we have a bad summer transfer window, I think he's going down the same route as Mourinho 3 years ago. Surav says Ollie's going to get sacked. Oliver says he'll be sacked as well. Tattoo says I don't want it to happen, but he'll be sacked. Nothing, in my opinion, said somebody there. And he will be gone by Christmas, says Jefferson. Sacked and still smiling, says Martin Liu. Implosion and we make no worthwhile signings are out of the Champions League, says John Tomlinson. We can't sack the board, unfortunately. I'm with Ollie because you never know, says right. I'm with Ollie. I'm just saying this is what I think is going to happen by Christmas. By Christmas, more players will want to leave, and with fans back, they will voice their opinions against Ollie and the coaches, says Tony Bond. Style of football needs to change, or he is sacked next season, says Geordie7. Mark, what do we have on the United team that is technically better than Daley Blind on the ball, says Bounty Lad. Well, yeah, just very quickly on that Daley Blind thing. A lot of people were saying to me, name a decent centre-back that's under 6 foot. Well, Azpilicueta's under 6 foot. He plays centre-back for Chelsea. Nathan Ake was a player that United were looking at before he went to Man City. He's under 6 foot. And obviously Daley Blind is under 6 foot as well. So you can be a good centre-back under 6 foot. And for me, I think 3 of the greatest centre-backs there's ever been are under 6 foot. I think they're under 5'10", in fact. Baresi, Cannavaro and Puyol. South Americans don't do very well at United. They don't stay very long and don't do very well. Di Maria, Varane, Tevez, Cleverson, Falcao, Forlan. Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right, David Page. Name me a South American that's done well at this club. For me, I think that, yeah, I mean, there's not many. Raphael was all right, but no, there's not been one who that's. I mean, Tevez was good. Tevez was quite good. That's about it. Ryan Giggs isn't South American, Samuel. Anyway, Valencia, of course, yeah, Antonio Valencia as well. Yeah, that's another one. Anyway, look, thanks everybody for watching. Smash a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe if you're new, bottom right hand corner. And as a final shout out, I really want everyone to watch this video. I've dropped the link in the video description. It's upset a lot of Arsenal fans, but why I want you to watch it is because the similarities between Arsenal and us are quite similar, and it shows you how bad things could get. They could get worse. The link's in the video description. You'll see it will say, why are Arsenal so crap? Watch here. Check it out and drop a comment in there. I want to see what you think. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the morning.